The teacher as an assessor. As we know, a teacher has a lot of different roles that they need to play. And only one of these roles is being an assessor. So when we look at being an assessor, we need to have a few competencies that we need to focus on. The first competency is the foundational competence. We're going to look at the practical competence and also the reflexive competence. The foundational competence focuses on the foundation of assessment. A teacher needs to be, as we call it, assessment literate, to know how to assess. Not necessarily how to assess, but to know the theory of assessment. If you don't know the underlying principles of assessment and you don't know the theory where it comes from, you don't know the different methods and appropriate types of assessment to use, and the theory that is all the theory, the things that we are now discussing in the classroom, the different types of assessment, the principles of assessment, why would you use assessment, this formative, summative assessment, those kind of things is the theory that's the foundation that the learner, the teacher should know. If they don't know the terminology and everything associated with assessment, they won't be able to produce proper assessment tasks. Again, here we look at the gender and cultural sensitivity. That's also referring at the principles of assessment. If they don't know these things, they will not be able to have a underlying theory that will help them to determine the best type of assessment to use for their specific module. When we look then at the practical competence, that is where we now start to implement these theory or to give real life examples and uses for the theory that we know from assessment. So there we actually now know how to use formative assessment and competence-based assessment. We must understand then that a different subject and phase and learning area need to be assessed in a different manner, and not only knows it, but know how to do it differently. We must be sure to provide feedback to the learners in a sensitive and educationally helpful way. Feedback might be one of the most important aspects of assessment, because why would we do the assessment task if we won't give the learners the feedback to show them how they did in the task, or if it seems that they understand the work or what they did wrong so that they can change it or change the way they learn. So feedback is really one of the most important things that we as an educator should focus on when assessing our learners. Again, we are talking here about the fair, valid, and reliable assessment. That is also the principles of assessment. You can watch the video on the principles of assessment again, where we focus on how our assessment should be structured to make sure that it is valid and fair and reliable for all the learners. The last competence that we are talking about is the reflexive competence. So the reflexive competence is not only reflecting or giving feedback to the students, but basically you as an educator need to reflect on the appropriateness of the assessment that you used. So to make sure if the assessment tasks were necessary and appropriate, was it the best task that you could have actually set up for that specific situation? Um, did it give you the results that you were looking for? And did you get the feedback that you wanted from the results? And when you are reflecting like that, then we can only see what I can do better next time when I set up the new assessment tasks for the learners, and maybe how I can adapt it or change it to be a better form of assessment. So basically, when we go back to the three types of assessment, I'm going to quickly summarize the foundational competence that refers to the theory of assessment. Do I know and understand the theory of assessment? When we talk about the practical competence, that refers to the how do I implement this theory? And the reflexive competence will focus on the thinking about what I've done, the reflecting on the assessment that I gave to the learners and how I can change it and make it better for the next time.